Rockhopper here. Come along on a drive as we mosey through a portion of Montana. Welcome to Crow Country. The Crow Indian Nation. The rolling grasslands of eastern Montana. Montana, whose nickname is the Treasure State, was the 41st state to be admitted to the Union. Also known as Big Sky Country, it's a place of superlatives. Not only big sky, but big vast plains and big mountains too. The fourth largest state in the Union, it embodies a feeling of openness and distant horizons. My journey into the state began east of Billings, across the rolling hills and gently undulating grasslands of eastern Montana, a region that was the ancestral land of the Crow and was later shared with the Lakota Sioux and the Cheyenne as they were pushed westward by white settlers. I was on my way to the Battle of the Little Bighorn National Monument. It was here in June 25th of 1876 that the 7th Cavalry, led by George Armstrong Custer, attacked Lakota and Cheyenne villages. But the native people were ready. Hunkpapa Sioux Chief Sitting Bull masterminded the counterattack that annihilated Custer and his men. The great warrior, Crazy Horse, and other braves fought valiantly. Often depicted as egocentric and arrogant, Custer thought he could easily force the people in the villages into submission and slaughter them if they resisted. He was wrong. The 7th Cavalry under Custer, Reno, and Benteen were outgunned and outnumbered. Custer and his men shot their horses and used the breastworks as protection in battle until the bitter end.
To your left!
All of the men under Custer's direct command, including Custer himself, died. Additionally, those under the Reno and Benteen battalions suffered heavy losses. And by the end, the 7th Cavalry had lost 263 men, while Lakota and Cheyenne were estimated at no more than 100 losses. Many years after the battle, some of the Indians who fought Custer achieved a sort of celebrity status, particularly Sitting Bull, who went on to tour in Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show. Today there are memorials and markers indicating where cavalry soldiers and native people died that day. Wherever you have tourists, of course you're going to have businesses that cater to tourists. And of course they're going to have funny t-shirts to sell you, just like these. After the Battle of the Little Bighorn National Monument, I got back on the interstate, heading west. Don't think it doesn't get hot in Montana. Oh yeah, it gets hot. 106, seeing is believing. And there's some of that big Montana sky. That's Billings out there. Seeing oil refineries and feedlots, my first impression of Billings, that it was an oil and cattle town, was pretty accurate. Originally founded as a railroad town in 1882, it grew to become Montana's largest city with a current population of about 120,000 people. I got gas and groceries and then found a grassy area beyond some agricultural fields on which to park for the night. The next day, I drove into Laurel and happened upon a car show. Here were the animals of the V8 Zoo, barracudas, mustangs, and more. Some real good classic oldies as well. Laurel, with a population of about 7,500 people, is another railroad and oil refinery town. Since I was here, I figured I might as well have a drive around this little town and see what was here. That looks like a happy car there. That's also Laurel, Montana. Big refinery there. After driving around, I got back on the interstate, anticipating heading into the hills and mountains.
Getting into a little bit of hills now after all that flatland stuff. Starting to see mountains out there. That's the Yellowstone River down there.
A completely unexpected find, not far off the interstate. Mother Mary Kent, and she died December 30th, 1897. Francis L. McComas died October 10th, 1912. A couple of graves from 1909 here. You may want to take a moment to ponder your mortality, because this is your final destination. Live your life while you can. Don't keep putting off things and saying, oh, someday. That day may never come.
A first look at some big mountains ahead to the west.
Last night when I parked in the grassy patch near a muddy creek, the evening was kind of brutal, never getting below 82 degrees inside the car. I couldn't leave the windows open as there were hungry mosquitoes that kept flying inside the car, and it was so windy that I couldn't put the screen on the back for ventilation, as it would blow open, allowing more mosquitoes inside.
This is the exit for the heart. The heart knows more than the mind sometimes. One should follow the heart.
This is not far from Livingston. Let's have a quick peek at Livingston here. Downtown Livingston. The town of Livingston sits beside the Yellowstone River and was born from the arrival of the Northern Pacific Railway that had railroad shops to service their steam trains before ascending Bozeman Pass, the line's highest point. Livingston also became the first gateway town to Yellowstone, America's first national park, which the railway heavily promoted to visitors from the eastern U.S. In 1872, a fisherman named Amos Benson built a log cabin near present-day Livingston and set up a river ferry, trading post, and small community called Benson's Landing. When a railroad survey crew arrived in 1882 and pitched their tents nearby, they called the place Clark City after Herman Clark, main contractor for the Northern Pacific from the Missouri westward. In December 1882, Livingston became a town and was named after railway pioneer Johnston Livingston. The birth of Livingston was the death of Clark City, as all of its residents moved from there to Livingston. This city of about 8,000 residents now caters to tourists. Some well-known people who've lived here include Calamity Jane, Peter Fonda, and Margot Kidder. I spent a little time wandering around town and went into a kite shop and found these. Bear country out here in memory of Brutus the bear. Looks like somebody's restoring an old log cabin. After exploring Livingston, I got back on the interstate and soon found myself in a race with a train. And that's the Madison River down there. Three Forks has a historic hotel, Sacagawea Hotel. Sacagawea was the Indian woman who traveled with explorers Lewis and Clark. Beginning in 1804, Van was indispensable as an interpreter and as a sign of peace, as a woman traveling with a group of men was considered by other tribes a peaceful encounter. You may want to see Montana fairly soon because scenes like this are disappearing. And it's starting to look more like this. Bang bang goes the mailbox. That place looks old and interesting. Might be worth exploring. This is camp for the night. Seems like a good place to park it. Got a nice view. And these are my neighbors this evening. Got a little herd of pronghorn. All these grasshoppers. As I walk, it's like popcorn just popping up out of a pan. I think many people believe that all of Montana has these vast areas of wide open public land where you can easily camp or park for the night, but that isn't necessarily the case. The past 3 nights I've had to park on private property because there was no BLM or forest land available anywhere nearby. So much of what you're seeing out here are just vast ranches, private land. Admittedly, I'm not really supposed to be here, but with the price of gas and everything, I didn't want to drive, a ton of miles and time. I just wanted to park for an evening and then just get going. As you can see, there are no bushes or trees around here, so we're cooking it up with grass, a few sticks, and some cow pies, just like the pioneer days. The pioneers used buffalo chips for fuel to create fire for cooking while they were crossing the plains. It looks like I've got a female elk coming over to see what's going on. A simple, easy, fast dinner tonight, just one of these rice packets. I have not eaten one of these for a couple of months. Another beautiful day comes to a close. There's a herd of about 25 elk down there. It's pretty dark, so they're hard to see. Good morning from Montana. There goes a mama elk and her little one. Okay, we're heading back out off the private property to the road, and there's the gate. Just gotta go through that. And then we're back down, heading on toward the interstate. You know that house yesterday? I said maybe we should do a quick explore. Well, this is it. And it's got kind of a rank smell to it. And a whole lot of junk in it. Phew, it stinks in here. It's like they just kind of up and left, I guess. And even got a TV set. Still just sitting right there, flat screen. So somebody must have lived in here until fairly recently. And yeah, this is it. A bunch of books there. And VCR tapes down there. Just all sorts of stuff. Looks like an old radio. Just went over a little pass, dropped down into a valley, and we're heading toward Butte. Starting to get into some forested hills here. Starting to look a bit more green as far as trees go. Getting up into the trees and rocks now. We just crossed the Continental Divide, 6393 elevation, Silverbow County. That's Butte, Montana up ahead, and it has a very massive open pit mine straight ahead. That's
Yeah, right there. Town of Butte is just over there.
Since we're here, might as well have a quick look around Butte. Heading up to the downtown, the historic district, the Uptown Butte. Named for a landform called Big Butte by early miners, Butte is best known for mining, but also for human and environmental tragedy. At an elevation of roughly 6,000 feet and with 35,000 residents, Butte was established in 1864 as a mining camp on the Continental Divide of the Rockies and was Montana's first major industrial city. It became one of the largest copper boom towns in the American West. For a time, Butte was the richest city in the world. Early Butte had all the elements of a bawdy western mining town. It was laden with brothels, bars, and venues for gambling. Yet it also strived to add some opulence and culture by building upscale homes and adding a library. Mining jobs attracted an influx of Asian and European workers, most notably the Irish. Butte has the largest population of Irish Americans per capita of any city in the U.S.
They got to Dublin Irish pub there.
This reminds me of the TV show Cheers. This looks like a very old building indeed. We're at the con. 172 people died here in less than 100 years. This is the con head frame. It was built in 1928. It's 129.5 feet tall. Butte is the location of the 1917 speculator mine disaster, in which 168 men were killed, the largest hard rock mining tragedy in world history. 2,000 feet below ground, a fire in a mine shaft spewed flames, smoke, and poison gas, burning many of the bodies beyond recognition. Butte's mining and smelting operations have generated over $48 billion worth of ore, but have come at a heavy cost. The Upper Clark Fork River, its headwaters at Butte, is the largest Superfund site in the U.S. The city is also home to the barren wastes of the Berkeley Pit, a gigantic open-pit copper mine where many hundreds of migrating geese chose the pit's toxic lake as a place to have a rest, which killed them all. Due to the mining, many of the toxins and heavy metals were released in the area, and for years the city's tap water was unsafe to drink.
This is the town of Walkerville, just up from Butte, at the top of the hill.
Nice view of the town from up here on the top of the hill. Butte's Uptown Historic District is one of the largest National Historic Landmark districts in the United States, with almost 6,000 contributing properties. Today you can attend a St. Patrick's Day parade, celebrate Evel Knievel Days, or enjoy the music of the Montana Folk Festival.
On the interstate, this time heading south on the 15 through Montana. It was kind of fun just wandering around Butte for just a little bit there. A real interesting place. A lot of history. Crossing the Continental Divide yet again. And we are over the top of the Continental Divide. Starting to do a slow decline. I just saw some lightning out there, so there is a little bit of a storm brewing out over those hills. Pretty out here. Rolling hills, some of them forested, just wide open space. I like it. Some interesting rock outcroppings up over there. Divide wisdom. Well, I suppose sometimes you might have to do that, especially if you're multitasking. But for us, well, this is our turnoff.
Wakaba, how can you divide wisdom? You cannot. One can only maintain wisdom that one already have. This is my wisdom to you. Well said, Master. Well said. This is the little town of Divide. Oh, look at that. We've got not only a divide, we've got a wise river and wisdom. If you're going to have a wise river, you've got to have some wisdom there, right? Otherwise, it would be an unwise river. Divide, Montana. There's your post office right there. That's the Big Hole River. Somebody's doing some rafting down there. After being on the interstate, it seems like a narrow little road. But I like it. Hey, more rafters. I'm jealous. Yeah, that looks like fun, rafting down the river. Of course, I do have my kayak, but I would have to find somebody to pick me up and bring me back to the car. Notice the bear on the left there. Yeah, we're in bear country. This is the little settlement of Wise River. Well, you got a smart river. I wonder if the people are smart here. Looks like that might be the biker bar there. That's a pretty little vista right there. Well, the rain didn't last long. It was just a shower, and now we're out of it, and it's sunny again. It's pretty following along that river. Another rain shower, and this one's a little bit harder. Well, actually, it's a lot harder. A lot of horses out there. Voila! It's dry and not raining again. It's starting to get sunny. I think that's a pretty little scene right there. What do you guys think? You like it? We have found wisdom. I wonder if the people in this town are all smart and enlightened. This is what wisdom looks like right here. Big view right there, isn't it? See a long way down that valley. This might be worth a look. Shall we go check it out? What? There's a payphone out here? E.T. Phone home. Does it work? Oh my goodness. There is dial tone. It really is. I was here at the Big Hole National Battlefield, which is where the Nez Perce tribe was in the process of taking flight in an effort to reach Canada and remain free rather than be confined to a reservation. In 1877, the military caught up with them here, and a battle ensued. After fighting back, many of the Nez Perce escaped and continued their journey. For the Nez Perce, there was death, injury, hunger, and exhaustion. yet they forged onward. Whitebird said, "We were wanderers on the prairie. The white man wanted the wealth our people possessed. He got it by the destruction of our people. We who yesterday were rich are beggars today. We have no country, no people, no home." He and over 250 others made it to Canada and safety. However, more than 400 Nez Perce were captured, only 40 miles short of reaching Canada, and were sent to Kansas and then exiled in Oklahoma. The last battle, which lasted 5 days, the Battle of Bear Paw, took place in October 1877. Tired of the suffering, Chief Joseph, in large part to save women and children from further death and tragedy, surrendered to General Miles. He said, "From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever." If you don't mind doing a bit of walking, you can actually go out to the battlefield site. Well, close to the battlefield anyway. What we have here is a memorial to the soldiers who died. Now my question is, should we not have a memorial to the Nez Perce people who died? The men, women, and children as well. I mean, after all, it was their homeland. It was their land. This is the battlefield overlook. The charred wreckage of a forest that burned in a fire. Did you know that the Smokey Bear campaign was so successful, and that's part of the reason we have the big mega fires of today? The U.S. Forest Service is under the direction of the Department of Agriculture rather than the Department of the Interior, and they catered to the logging and grazing industries with 100 years of fire suppression, which has turned out to be quite unnatural and harmful to the forests. We're taking the 43. We're driving through the forest now. The ribbon of asphalt is cutting through. We've reached the border of Idaho, so I hope you've enjoyed traveling across a portion of Montana with me. Don't forget to give me a like on the video, subscribe, and share. Until next time, this is Rockhopper. I'll see ya.